This is a Little Empire podcast. Visit us at littleempirepodcast.com and on Twitter at Little Empire Pod.
You're going to play that dastardly intro again?
Ow! This movie's still fine.
There's a Coley pasta.
One of them dies, that guy's Squirrel. One of them's a hottie, his name is Jay. One of them looks like Johnny Depp, and his name is Johnny Depp.
Classic Maximum Joseph.
You forget that films are supposed to have a point.
You do forget that films are supposed to have a point, Tim. You're very prone to doing that. You're liable to forget a lot of stuff. You've got a bit of a hazy memory. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I would agree. I agree.
What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. People are different. That's what I attribute it to. Everyone's different. They have different skills.
That's true. You're very good at climbing.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You know, always list a skill next to a...
You're good at running.
Thank you.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen it with my own two eyes, with my peepers in my head.
I always, when I walk down the street, I always am sussing out everyone else and whether or not I think I'd beat them in a running race.
At all times.
Pretty much.
Is it a scenario where you put it in your head that it could be a life or death moment?
No.
Like it's going to come down to that race, or you just want to boss them out?
Just bossing them out. It's just a straight running race.
Far out. What about a physical fight? Do you size
I would
people
lose.
up for that?
Nah. That's why I'm more interested in the running element, because ideally no one will be able to catch me and therefore I'll never have to be in a physical fight.
I see. But if you could beat them in a fight, that would work also.
I
Then you wouldn't have to show
don't want to
off.
beat anyone in a fight. I'd rather be the fastest.
There is something to knowing that you could beat people in a fight, though. It's like all those martial arts dudes who they never get in a fight because they know they could kick anyone's ass. So as a result, they don't get all hot-headed about anything.
That's weird. This such a weird thing to do.
It's an extreme confidence with the world.
I'm going to become the best person in the world at something and then pretty much not be able to use my skill.
That's awesome. Well, I guess the payoff of the skill is not having to employ it when you don't want to, isn't it?
It's just a lot of trouble to go to barely get to do something, to not really get to celebrate the thing.
I guess that's a very narrow vision of what martial arts training will give you. There are other payoffs, as well, like you just become a calm person.
Oh, of course.
You know?
Undoubtedly.
You suss it out.
But I don't assess people for strength. I'm not interested in how strong you are. But I do wonder whether or not I could beat you across 100 metres.
It's good to know. If you guys ever meet Guy Montgomery out in the wild, just know that when you first shake his hand, he's not thinking of your name, he's not thinking of your gender, he's thinking, could I beat this person in a one-on-one running race? How many metres do you generally put in your head for that calculation?
100, but I never imagine the whole...
Just a straight sprint.
I never imagine the whole 100 metres. I just imagine for about 5 seconds us running next to each other and me pulling away from the person, or them pulling away from me if I think they're faster than me.
Gotcha. Just down to that delta. Wherever the change happens, that's what's in your head.
Yeah.
Interesting. Welcome to the worst idea of all time, episode 17?
That's right.
Season 3. We've just watched the movie twice back to back, so spirits are not high. If I don't want to put a depressing tinge on this episode too prematurely.
I think we've got a lot of good stuff to unpack. You know, if you look at something twice, sometimes you see similar things, sometimes you see different things.
Yeah. I had a real interesting phenomenon in that second watch where I was really zoning in and out.
Yeah, you were wavering.
I came to. I thought we were at the end of the film because we were with Somali back at the cafe. And I was like, oh, it's over. It's great. And then it wasn't over because he hadn't even played Summerfest yet. And I kind of hadn't, like, the last thing I could remember was Squirrel dying. It was like I was at the funeral and then it was like, shumpoof. Suddenly I was at the cafe.
Yeah.
And I could only remember a few key things.
Do you know what it was? It was when Squirrel died, Squirrel dies and they call an ambulance, which doesn't make any, like, obviously you have to call an ambulance, but like you said, it's Occam's razor. I mean, the gents they're in bits and pieces. They're absolutely confident that he's just unconscious.
Look, they're responding in a somewhat realistic way, but you got to take a bit of cold hard logic to the situation and go, what is more likely of the following two options? That our friend has been dead for quite a while and his untimely demise was met while we were asleep for several hours, or that it's just happened and we just happened to coincidentally wake up at the right time, that there was still a little bit of hope. And hope's all we've got in this crazy world, guys. So I respect them for trying their best to resuscitate him, but yeah, you're right. At the time of this watch, I was just like, guys, it's over. I'd like to think about it. It's over.
And then they don't deal with any of the mop up of them having their friend die in their company. There's no autopsy.
There'd be criminal charges. I'm willing to wager. A kid of Squirrel's age, 26.
Younger, 23,
dying at a party. There's going to be an autopsy. He's going to have a toxicology report.
There's going to be a lot of questions being asked.
It's going to show up a heady cocktail, a heady brew to determine his cause of death. And then the question becomes, well, where did he get a shit ton of A-class drugs? And maybe the finger should be pointed at the boys who hosted the party and live with him.
They are the drug dealers.
They are legitimately drug dealers.
There's hard evidence in the film showing.
Yeah.
Of them dealing drugs.
We see it. I'm sure the cops could make a case.
Huge song and dance about it.
So here's what I'm doing if I'm Squirrel's extended family. I'm laying charges on Zaccoli, Jarhead, Johnny Depp. Fuck you guys. You took my son prematurely. He was an angel. He was the only one of you fucking morons that went to college. I told him to stop hanging out with you burners. And you got him in the end. And now I'm going to get you. You're going to prison. Do not collect go. Do not collect $200. Do not pass go. You're going to jail.
Instead, they're not just at the funeral. They're putting the first dirt on the coffin.
Outrageous.
It's crazy.
Who would allow that to happen? That's a family decision. No family in their right mind would allow that. It's insanity. It's not right. And it really, really struck me this time, this watch. Not happy, guy. Fuck, it was not fun, that second one we just completed.
It was okay. There's a fun
we haven't mentioned our sponsor as well for this episode, Blaze Pizza.
Of course.
Hashtag how do you blaze?
Yeah.
Blaze Pizza, famous for their art is anal ingredients. Chuck them in a flash mob for 3 minutes.
Make it go viral.
Heat it up. Make it go viral. Put it in your mouth.
The viral heat from the number of times it will be viewed online.
Yeah.
Cooks that pizza through in 180 seconds, served to you fresh. Only the freshest ingredients available at Blaze Pizza. How do you blaze?
Blazepizza.co.nz, a domain name owned by me, hopefully to be used as leverage against the larger domain of Blaze Pizza. And when I say domain the second time, I mean it in the kingdom sense of the word.
They are masters of their own domain. We want a bit of the kingdom.
Indeed.
But what I did enjoy was the knowledge watching it. We've been doing a lot of research, obviously, on the making of the film.
Yes.
Try and feed the mind.
Reading up.
Absolutely. Digging through the back catalogue, digging through the scripts.
Wikipedia, IMDb.
Yeah.
That guy who died who used to review all the films, who has that cool website.
Roger Ebert.
There we go.
Yeah.
.com.
Absolutely. We went on WikiLeaks and they had a bunch of stuff about leaked emails back and forth about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
they probably do, actually, because wasn't this a Sony thing?
I don't know.
If it was anything to do with Sony, there will be some shit out there.
I haven't actually visited WikiLeaks. Is it just like Wikipedia, only with leaked information?
Well, no, it's structured differently.
Okay. Well, it's a misleading title.
Well, it's not. The wiki bit just indicates that lots of people have contributed.
I know, but most people aren't very smart, and we don't know that, so we expect a service.
What would you prefer WikiLeaks to be called, Guy?
I don't want to be called anything else. I just want the website to fulfill its name, which is to be structured and...
it's similar. It's not not identically...
Then change the name because...
Well, Wikipedia... I'm not going to get into this with you. I will not take the bait today.
It's pretty simple. Not today, Death. So through this research...
Quick shout out for Death Blood as well. That's coming up real soon.
Yeah, I think that's in roughly 70 days now. Oh, no, shit. 63 days.
Ish.
Yeah.
Who knows when this episode will come out.
American Thanksgiving, episode 2. Till Death to Us Blood, at Deathblood on Twitter for regular countdown updates.
And deathblood.com, I think.
Anyhow.
I would do anything to not talk about the movie this episode.
I am trying to make a point to you, sir.
Yeah,
and that was, through our research, we found out that Maximum Joseph employed a very interesting directorial technique on set wherein he pitted each individual department of his crew against one another for different shooting days.
In a gladiatorial battle of the creative industries.
Yeah. And so essentially a department could win a shoot. Was it a
One
shoot?
department would win each scene.
That
Each scene in the movie, there is a winner. So it could have been art department. It could have been hair and makeup.
could have been costume.
Could have been catering.
Could have been casting. You don't want catering to win because
No.
it means everyone looks well fed.
Yeah, but no
But
one's doing better than catering.
Yeah.
They're easy to beat. They are easy to beat.
Catering.
Well, it's not very flashy, is it?
No, I mean they didn't splurge on the catering.
Why is there not an Oscar for catering?
That is a very good question because that's, you're nourishing the environment of the set.
It's so important.
You are absolutely.
Craft services are instrumental to a good production. Like an army marches on its stomach. You know who said that? Famous director Maximum Joseph.
That is.
When he was leading a battalion in a war that I can't recall which one it was. I'm going to get tied into the geopolitical situation in any particular area, so we will skirt specificity.
I like that. I like that you skirted around specifics. But it's really nice to watch a movie where you know more about how it was. I mean, I can see why behind the scenes stuff works now, because knowing that, you can really see that. If you look, you can actually see in the background of frame the different departments physically fighting each other.
Yeah.
On the set.
Shit got real messy.
Yeah.
They used real blood from one of the second ADs on Zuccoli's face for the special effects makeup after he gets punched by James Reed from The Feelers.
Yeah, which they actually split the point for that between makeup for punching the AD and production for providing the blood for the makeup. And that was the only case where there was a tie break.
It's the only tie. It's the only tie in the whole
points.
damn thing. Some other notable departments that won in this film, obviously music and soundtracking.
Yeah.
They won a couple. They won a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the final tally, but I suspect it's possible they might have been the overall winner of the film.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Casting did well.
Yeah.
They got Zac Efron, would we say in his prime?
Yeah,
We'd say near the peak of his career, a peak of sorts.
That is a coup.
A real coup. They managed to throw all of the money of the film in his face and get him to sign on the dotted line. So well done to casting. They won a couple of scenes.
As well, they should have.
And what other departments do you have, really? Electrical,
Lighting, yeah.
the sound recordists
Yeah.
who were there on the day. You got the offline sound doing the additional dialogue recording.
Data wrangling.
Data wrangling.
Now we're just listing.
All the
I
guys
see what you're doing. You're
organising
sucking
hard
me
drives.
into this vortex where you just list different elements of a crew instead of talking about the movie.
I'm just building a map. I'm building a Wikipedia-like
No,
map for you.
I see.
Because I know how much you love that layout.
You're trying to scramble my brains, huh?
So you can just see everything out in the open, out in one page.
No, I don't like it. I don't like this weird trance-like list you have me under.
That's fine. We'll move forward. The point is, Maximum Joseph is applying some sort of free market economics to the extreme libertarian approach to filmmaking, which I respect the hell out
With
of.
mixed results, but you gotta admire someone for trying something very different.
Most directors bring kind of a bit of a socialist atmosphere where everyone's pulling in one
I
direction.
love it.
Maximum Joseph's like, you are all in competition with each other. The best ideas will win out. This is a free market of ideas.
That's right. And he would the losing department at the end of each day, he'd melt all of their equipment, whether it be the sound equipment or the makeup
He'd
equipment.
render it down into a staff.
He'd melt it, into a staff, and he'd walk around with that staff the next day.
And then award it to the winning team in total points from that day's shoot. It was brutal and expensive because you can't get by without the equipment. It keeps melting
And
down.
health and
rendering.
safety were really up our asses on this one because, I mean, if you've got an open furnace on set at the end of every day when people are already pulling overtime, that is a very dangerous. It's an open. I can't emphasize how open this furnace
Open
is
pit.
enough. It's
It's a very hot open pit environment that's hot enough to melt
half the days
steel
were outside
beams.
shoots.
They used jetline fuel to melt it all because it's the only thing known to get hot enough to melt all that equipment, steel beams and all.
You're going to get put on a list.
I am probably already on one.
You reckon? What
Yeah,
do you?
maybe. just from what I click around on
Would
the
you
internet.
be cool with your Google history being published after you died?
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. I don't always get that, how people are like, oh, fuck, you gotta clear my history if I'm dying. It's like, what are people? What are you guys doing? Like, I read a lot of wacky shit, but most of my stuff's just embarrassing, and then I've got kind of like strange interests. Like, I read a lot of stuff about what's happening with American politics and that, but there's nothing like, I don't think there's anything shameful in that internet history. How about you?
Yeah, I'm very similar. Mine will be mostly embarrassing in the sense that I've just got like a really short circuit online where I'll be like in some sort of time hole on a different website, whether it be Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, and
Going
it'll
to
just
click hole.
Click hole. It'll just have me in its grips for like really long, and then I'll close it down. And I'll be like, okay, now to do some work.
Yeah.
And then my muscle memory will just
Stood
open a
around.
new tab and go to exactly the same webpage I was just on.
Yeah. Well, that's not so bad. I think everyone's
But
guilty
it'll
of
just-
that at
yeah.
the moment. We've got to find a way out of that, I think, collectively as a society. I think we're at a bad point where everything's gotten like all the websites are designed pretty good at drawing us in and keeping us there. Like everything's refreshing just enough so that we're just never off of it. So we're going to need to start to pull back collectively, I think. Make some decisions for ourselves.
Really is the opposite of newspapers, isn't it?
Oh, how good's a newspaper?
Yeah.
You grab it, you sit down, you thumb through, you're relaxed, it's going at your pace, nothing's like...
You browse
blaring
the
at you.
classifieds, apply for a private detective job, assume a new identity, change your name by deed poll, move out to a swamp, start investigating a family with a suspicious past. There were 3 kids, but when they moved into town, there were only 2.
Has anyone called you to this potential mystery, or have you just sort of found it?
You just needed to change.
So
Sick of-
you
sick of
become
routine.
you become a PI, and then you just kind of look around for suspicious activity rather than being
You're unsanctioned. What you're doing is
Right.
pretty borderline.
not being hired by anyone.
Yeah.
Far out. That's one way to do it. Create your own work, guys. It doesn't just apply to artists. It applies to everyone.
Yeah. Be the change you want to see in the world. If you want to see more private detectives in the world,
And, more importantly, change the bee you are in the world.
yeah.
The bees are dying. They need to adapt. Life finds a way, and so should you.
How the bees can adapt.
I'm not sure. Maybe they'll find a way to live underwater.
That is so unlikely. I mean, that is such a huge... It's a quantum leap in the evolution of the bee.
If you think about it, though, wax is definitely waterproof. Like, water beads off beeswax. It does. Don't look at me incredulously. Surely that's true. So if you created a whole, like, hive, I guess the problem is circulation of air. If you made a tunnel, though, that went up to the water like a big tube, like a snorkel for them, then they could kind of exist below the water where there'd be less predators. I'm ignoring the fact that there's sharks and stuff. And then they could, like, circulate the air up and down that way. That'd be pretty cool. What if bees teamed up with ants and then they hung out under the earth together, kind of like what hornets do, but less arseholey?
If the bees and the ants did figure out to team up, you know,
Fuck,
then
that would be unstoppable, way. Because God damn. God damn, what a team, eh?
there's a real flash of inspiration in Tim's eyes. I want everyone to know just then.
It would be, you know how everyone makes these sci-fi movies that involve nanobots that are just kind of, they're all like sort of autonomous tiny little particles that can come together into any shape and do whatever.
Yeah.
Like the T-1000.
Like Masingo
What's Masingo?
from Pokemon.
Oh, is it a nanobot?
No.
Just throw Masingo in there. That's the glitch one, eh?
Yeah, it just mirrors whatever it sees.
Yeah, that's dope. Well, nanobots could do anything, though.
Oh, they've got total freedom.
Yeah. So that's like the ants, I reckon. You know, they're like tiny little parts, and they could kind of build together to build a bigger ant or different things.
Bigger ant
And
is still tiny, though.
I feel like the bees would be their masters.
No, that's not what this collaboration is about.
Yeah, that's true. Do you feel it's more egalitarian?
Yeah, well, I just think they're both turning to each other to survive.
The bees could produce so much energy for the ants, like just honey for days.
The
And what
ants-
would the ants be bringing to the party, do you think?
They'd be digging the underground passages for the
They are fucking good at that, actually.
bees to go
Yeah,
flying
fucking
through.
A. Why don't the bees and the ants get together?
I think it's a language barrier. It's a real
ants
shame.
aren't under threat either. Like there's not a shared sort of burden for survival there, because I think the ants, by all accounts, are going to be sweet. The bees are getting real effed up though because of that Monsanto spray.
Is that what it is?
That's what they reckon.
What's Monsanto spray?
Well, it's like pesticides, you know, to keep all the crops free of
I
things
see.
that'll eat away at all the crops. But it's as a side effect, it's killing all the bees.
Well, we better stop using that pesticide.
Well, you'd think we would have figured that out by now.
But somehow we haven't.
It's just hard to break the chain. Once everything's up and running, you're like, what am I going to do? Not buy this lettuce? I'm probably going to buy the lettuce. That's what it boils down to, you know? We Are Your Friends is a film. It's a movie. It's an experience.
You just said the same thing twice.
4 guys
You are struggling.
rolling around. My shining light this week. I did have one. I thought of it at the time.
Oh, good on you.
Fuck.
That was a
it's
good system.
gone. I really should have written it down. I knew I was going to get lost on a swamp of ants and bees.
And frustration, I think, is another word for that conversation.
Have you got one off the top of your dime? You don't, eh?
Of course not.
Don't. No.
That movie, by all accounts, I've
got a low light. I'll share that.
Yeah, please.
Just the last few watches, the text that comes on screen when we get introduced to Paige's work, Gold Star Realty Solutions, mouthful of concrete, dick full of diamonds. The typeface they use really started to get at me. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It changes a bit.
Yeah, first it's like this font that's trying to mirror like kids' magnets on a fridge.
Yeah.
It's very colourful and it's got that kind of
This is
rounded, I forget what the term
life.
is. Curling, I think.
Does it say the word life? Is it
Life.
In my life.
Yeah. In my life.
I do not believe in anything that is not concrete.
Yeah, so all of those other words that aren't life are done in this kind of fucking it's almost like an Arial, but even shitter than that. It's not good. Don't like it. Didn't mind it when it started, and now for some reason I've taken massive exception to it.
You're a big meanie.
Well, I have seen the film 16 times this year.
Yeah.
But that being said, doesn't have to make me a fan of the typeface. There's stuff that I still find fine about the film. A lot of the song choices I think are pretty dope.
The songs they'll always get you tapping your feet. They really, to begin with, they really help whip through the movie. But now they just pace it.
Yeah.
They can't quite accelerate time like they once did. It's not that the songs are playing at a different speed. Don't get me wrong. The songs are playing at exactly the same pace as they were at the beginning. What's happening is our reaction to the pictures that are moving with the sound.
Yeah, let me make that perfectly clear. We are watching exactly the same piece of media week in, week out. When we speak about it being different, that's on us.
That's
not on
fair.
it.
That is fair. And
It seems obvious, but I feel like every now and then we just need to take a step back and point that out.
It's easy to say, but I don't really I know that that's true, but I don't believe in that.
Okay, I'm going to float something and see if it counts as a shining light, because I've got a feeling it doesn't. The looking pool, just as a pool, is a great pool. And especially because we've got an empty pool to compare it to, which is the one at Jahed's house.
Jahed and Zakoli and Jardad and Dad Mum's house. And it's ridiculous because we know it's the middle of summer because of Johnny Depp and the leather jacket. And, I mean, they're working on this pool a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's never got anything. It's just
never got water in it.
It's a wasted pool for the whole summer.
It is in summer too, isn't it? And that thing's empty ass. And dirty, so you can tell it hasn't had water in it for a little while. So, a good pool. A great pool.
Yeah. Second pool in the movie would probably be the pool at the house they rent where Squirrel dies. That is also a very good pool.
Yeah, of the three pools, that's the
whoever
middle
the
pool.
realtor was who was showing that house.
That pool was just right. The first pool was too looky.
Yeah.
So we went to the other pool, and the last pool was too empty. So then we tried the middle pool, and the middle pool was just right.
Yeah. Who were you embodying then? The boys?
The storyteller of Goldilocks.
Okay.
Sorry, the narrator.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel you.
voice of God.
But yeah, the realtor did a good job maintaining that pool when they were showing it to potential buyers. Did we ever talk about how we went to an open home somewhere in LA?
I think we may have covered that. I'm not sure.
We must
Tell it
have.
again though. We can briefly get into a bit of
That's
that.
pretty cool. We were just driving around some random. It's not as. It's
We were
not
somewhere
as.
real ritzy.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like we were in Beverly Hills, mate. No,
We were in some sort of hills. Just driving around, having a look. We had like some time to kill before we had to do something, so we were just having a look around the neighborhood, and we drove past an open home. So we pulled up the driveway. It's quite a long driveway,
Yeah.
and had a bloody
Had a gander.
Yeah, had a gander around the house. And Tim was very focused on getting high speed internet cables in there.
Oh yeah. Well,
You kept
here's what
asking
that was.
You kept asking the realtor about the internet.
The way to lie successfully is you've got to add a bit of specificity in there to throw people. So like he was like, "What do you think of the house?" I'm like, "Looks pretty good. Is it wired for cable?" I can't remember what his answer was, but that's not the salient bit. The bit is, you know, you got to throw a little specificity
Go in there with
in
some
there.
backstory.
A little salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Spice up that plot. Otherwise, you're just obviously two dickheads from New Zealand wasting a realtor's time in a property that was worth how much? It was like $7 million or something.
Not $7 million. Surely
Less than
not.
that.
There's too many $1 million.
Yeah, you might be right. It was several
No,
million
the
dollars.
thing is, the great thing with going into open homes is they've got no idea who you are.
yeah,
you could
and I
like
think
anyone.
we made up a bit of backstory as well, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so.
We're, I think a traveling gay couple who were involved in the movies, maybe.
It was.
I can't remember what we told
yeah.
them. Good times though. It's
was
fun
good
to
times.
pretend.
And he did a good job as well of maintaining the pool in that house. So it could have been the same realtor. The one who showed us around the house was the one who rented that house to Jahid.
Right. And the boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
but Jahid was the one
Jahid
who
was
went,
the one
yeah.
who signed the lease. You're correct. Yeah, gotcha.
It's a small world, isn't it?
It sure is when you start connecting dots furiously that may or may not exist and definitely don't because you're intermingling the real world with a fictional universe you've created based on a movie that isn't even real anyway.
It's a very small world.
Shining light from you, Guy.
I'm
Are
really.
you going to green light the pool thing? Am I going to get away with that?
Absolutely.
Great.
I'm never vigilant on policing shining lights. I'll let anyone grab onto any life raft.
Cool.
And oh god, I tell you what it is. It's the amount of fruit that Somali and James Reed from the Feelers keep in their house. By the way, the Feelers, if you are looking for an entry point into some of their music, what was it?
Pressure Man?
Pressure Man. Was that the
Pressure
name of
Man's
the
a
album?
good one. Oh, no, well, I don't know what album that one's on. It might have been the name of the album.
Yeah.
Super System is the big album that they put
Yeah.
out.
Anyway, that was James Reed's band before he started DJing. And in their house the night after they take PCP and Zaccoli wakes up in their lounge, they have an unholy... There's only two people living in this house, mind you, so bear that in mind. They have two huge bowls, like display bowls, that are overflowing with fruit. And there's just no way that they could get through all of that fruit without some of it spoiling.
It's like the opposite of that Bible story where Jesus has to feed hundreds of people with 2 loaves and like 3 fish, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite of that. It's 2 people in a house and an infinite amount of fruit.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, as I understand it, the set dressing people really won the scene on that day.
They did win the scene on that one.
Ironically, the prize was all of the fruit, and they had to eat it in front of everyone. They had to really gorge themselves. It was pretty uncomfortable watching.
Yeah, and it was weird too because Maximum Joseph's just looking for a contest anywhere. He then put that scene that was unfolding in real life of all these set dressers having to consume so much fruit. He made them do that while they were shooting the scene where James Reed of the Feelers and Zaccoli are eating the birthday cake, and then made that an eat off, which was weird. One being filmed, one being just off of the soundstage where it was being filmed. And I tell you what, man, disgusting to watch, like stomach churning to be involved in. You're looking to your left and you're seeing people blue in the face with bananas.
Like these are people you respect. You work with these people
Day in, day out. And they're vomiting, and it's like a fibrous, gooey, fruit-filled mess, and the smell is what gets you, because there's a lot of sickly sweet, that kind of fructose sugar that's in the vomit.
It's quite pungent. It really pierces the air.
So you try to look away, and all you're seeing is James Reed from The Feelers just stuffing his face with birthday cake, take after take. And that guy's method. He is a child of the Stanislavski school of method acting. He is getting involved, and every take, he's smashing that shit in his face. And he doesn't have a spit bucket. He doesn't believe in it. Because just like James Dean, he said, do you know how you act smoking a cigarette? You just smoke a cigarette. Do you know how you act eating birthday cake? You just eat the cake. Take after take after take. Disgusting. It was a hard day on set. Tell you what.
Yeah.
Do you want to know who won that day as well? It's the fucking cleaners. They did an immaculate job of getting those floors back to pristine condition. So much vomit. Apparently, they rivaled Disneyland for the amount of sawdust they used that day on set. One day shooting. Incredible.
Wow. I tell you what else is incredible is that the stats team that keeps those metrics, who measure the amount of sawdust Disneyland used against every film set all over the world, shooting all the time. I mean, the hard men and women who work, you know, at that stats bureau, not a lot's been doing.
Absolutely
and,
not.
I mean, no one asks for that work, and they.
Why isn't there a stats Oscar?
They do it anyway. Why isn't there a stats Oscar?
Why isn't there a stats Oscar? Why isn't there a catering Oscar? I'm sick of us just parading around the prettiest looking people who are doing an important job of many. There's a lot of important components in making a film. Feeding people is one of them. Cleaning up the vomit from a jewel eat-off is another.
Yeah.
The shit is important.
Those thankless tasks.
It's critical. It's critical, and there should be an Oscar for that.
I couldn't agree more. I mean,
I think
you're
there should be
preaching
a
to the converted.
podcast Oscar as well. I think there should be a web movie review Oscar.
Okay. You're running out of steam now. You have me with the first two.
There should be an Oscar for best book tie-in to a movie that gets released.
Only if it's unofficial.
Not canon.
If it doesn't have the actual backing.
Okay. That's the only way it becomes eligible.
For an
Is that
Oscar.
because then it's kind of its own product?
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
Best adapted.
Best unofficial.
Best adapted spin-off book.
Unauthorized brackets. Very good, very good.
Well, should we dust off the old MacBook Pro box?
Absolutely. It's just where I was headed as well.
So, of course, this segment, as all of our segments, is brought to you by the hardworking team at Blaze Pizza. That's right. So if you are driving past a Blaze, pull in, grab yourself a slice. It's really good stuff. Take a photo there and tag us in with Blaze Pizza. Use the hashtag #GetBlazedGetPaid.
Good day, mate. My name's Hungry Johnny, and I'm in the mood for pizza. There's only one place I'll ever go, and that's Blaze Pizza. Hashtag how do you blaze? Hashtag artisanal ingredients. Hashtag use the sauce, a crowd source to heat your pizza.
Thanks, Hungry Johnny.
Thank you, Blaze Pizza. Blaze on.
Getting sentimental with James Reed. That's right. As always, James Reed he can't help himself. He's an emotional soul. And I think his role as mentor means that Zaccoli winds up mimicking a lot of his emotional behaviours as well as professional behaviours. And that's probably, I think you can trace some of the birth of the Crying DJ back to that mentor student relationship. Yeah, mentee.
Mentor better, mentor's freshness. Mentor better when mentee's fresh and full of life.
That was truly one of the premier mentor for hire services until they lost all their money in a legal battle with Mentos. Unsurprisingly,
Yeah,
I mean,
they were really headed into
they
a
were
headwind.
asking for it. But James Reed gets a little sentimental and he buys a gift for Zaccoli. What we know about the gift, it is within the dimensions of a MacBook Pro box. It's self-serving, and he bought it for Zaccoli on account of getting a little sentimental. Sentimental.
Sentimental.
Senior-mental.
As in Mentos, not as in mentors.
Or Dementors. Tim, would you care to speculate as to what in God's name is inside of that box?
I'm so glad you asked, obviously. What's happened here is it's a voucher that is sitting inside of the MacBook Pro box, and to try and match the weight as well, it's been carved out onto a piece of, titanium. And what it is for a group counselling session for 3 sessions with one of the premier shrinks in Hollywood for Somali, James Reed from The Feelers, and Zaccoli to go together to try and figure this threesome out that they've established.
Oh.
You know, when I say threesome, I don't necessarily mean in a sexual way, though I don't not mean that.
I just unpack the emotional pressure cooker that they've all put themselves inside of together.
Absolutely. There's so much tension, professional tension, sexual
That
tension.
is very much a self-serving but generous gift, because he's welcoming Zaccoli into the relationship fray.
Yeah.
It's not a knee-jerk reaction. It's not his first reaction. You know, he's been lucid, calm. He's looked at the best way to problem solve the situation that they've landed themselves in.
He's shown a bit of vulnerability. He's getting sentimental.
Yeah. Well, now I guess we all know a little bit more about the backstory of the crying DJ.
And now, time for our segment, which we call No But.
Brought to you by Blaze Pizza.
Blaze Pizza!
I'm going to have a hamburger. No, but I should have Blaze Pizza.
Hashtag Blaze Pizza. Hashtag How Do You Blaze? At Blaze Pizza on Twitter.
We're back, baby!
You better believe it. With a fucking vengeance.
You called out a moment that you said we noticed was clearly improvised during the movie. Can you remember what that was?
Fuck no.
Gosh,
absolutely not.
You were on the nose too.
Ooh,
baby, don't you know what that's worth?
We both went strong, and we both went in 2 different directions to that fork in the road. Fuck, what was it?
I mean, take your pick, really. A lot of it is clearly just vibe.
The menu is open.
Yeah, exactly.
Close your eyes, put your finger on a bit. It'll all work.
Yeah.
It'll all work.
Squirrel and Zaccoli down by the water. They're leaning back on a log, smoking a joint. I think their brief would have been, hey, can you guys please establish some sort of emotional bond in this bit? Something that will humanize both of you and create the illusion of depth for our audience, who are hopefully at this point still on board with the story we're trying to tell.
Also, just to add another dimension to it, while we are shooting that, just off screen, we're also going to have a man riding a donkey in the most emotional way that he knows how to try and rival who can generate the most rise out of an audience.
That's right.
We're taping both of them. Only you guys are going to make the film, but they're both going to a test audience, and that is one of today's several competitions.
Do you know what? Actually, that is such a good idea. I'm going to give the award for best contribution to the scene today to myself, the director. That's my first victory. Well done, me. Maximum Joseph.
Maximum Joseph's magnum opus. Truly living up to its name.
And while Maximum Joseph was going out of his mind and delivering the speech to himself, Zaccoli and Squirrel were left to their own devices to just have a conversation, which was largely about how freaky they were finding the whole experience working with Maximum Joseph. Of course, the cameras were rolling. This was all part of Maximum Joseph's directing technique, and what they captured was improvised in a sense. It was more just a real conversation, spliced in with footage, acting footage.
Film technique that he's coined, freak 'em out, cut it out, which is when you scare the living bejesus out of the cast you're working with, get them to free run for a bit, and then just take little slithers of that and cut it together so that it works in the confines of the film. Freak 'em out, cut it out.
Yeah, it's brave technique.
It is. But he's a visionary. You couldn't doubt that.
He's one of a kind, I'll tell you that.
Truly he is. Truly he is. Jesus Christ. Any other...
I've got not a lot of juice left in my canisters,
well,
bro.
Then the only thing left for us to say is thank you to our sponsor, Blaze Pizza. Please take a selfie of yourself right now. I don't care where you are. And tag in at Guy_Mont. Is that
correct?
Right? At Tim... Oh, shit. At Tim_Bat, B-A-T-T. And at Blaze Pizza, or one word.
We'll retweet everything.
We will retweet everyone that we're tagged in. And if you can fit the hashtag in there, how do you blaze? But the most important thing is give us a bit of background as to where you are, what you're doing. That's what I want.
That's what Blaze Pizza wants. And we are only here to fulfill their creative brief.
Let's take the fight to that 180-second fire they've got, you know? We're taking it to their doorstep, folks. We are the people's army.
And you are also the people's army. We are the people's army. And we'll be back next week as your commanders-in-chief to report back on our findings from watching We Are Your Friends for the millionth time.
Look after yourselves and each other. This is Springer. That's what Jerry Springer used to say.
This movie's still fine.
Collie pasta.
One of them dies, that goes screw. One of them's a hottie, his name is Jay. One of them looks like Johnny Depp, and his name is Johnny Depp.
Classic Maximum Joseph.
You forget that films are supposed to have a point.
Thanks for listening to this Little Empire podcast. If you're thirsty for another, why not try Boners of the Heart?
Cute. And in St. Elmo's Fire, he looks very iron deficient, and that is actually a big attraction for me. Men who look iron deficient. Men with dark bags under their eyes. What's wrong with that?
Nah, nothing's wrong with it. It's just a very specific thing to find attractive about a person.
Boners of the